In this video, I'm going to show you how to actually build an $100,000 per year online personal training business. And no, it's not what you think. So keep watching and you'll find out exactly what I mean and how to actually go about this, okay? So step one, right, you just need to get your expectations right. Similarly to fat loss, it takes time. It takes ticking the boxes every single day. And it's not only until 3 or 4 months down the line where that kind of like snowball effect starts to kick in and you really start to see the results. So it works in exactly the same way. But unfortunately, people, aren't actually willing to put in the reps every single day. It's going to suck for a while. That's just the way it is. Especially if you're an in-person PT, then a lot of how to grow online is completely different to what you would do in person. Things like talking in front of a camera, making content, posting it online for people to see. This can be quite uncomfortable for people, right? Fear of judgment, fear of things not working, fear of looking silly. But unfortunately, that's just one of the skills that you need to develop if you want to become an online coach. Another thing is you need to have a niche, right? Because when it comes to in-person PT, you're basically a commodity, right? However, online, you can't really afford that because there's so many people, right? Some might say the market is saturated. But yeah, when you're an in-person PT, like it's based on local demographic, right? There isn't a ton of competition. However, online, if you're a generalized person, you're like trying to please everyone, you're just going to look very average at everything. Okay, so people are going to have the luxury of going to whoever they want, right? Because it's a global market essentially. So they're going to pick the coach who looks like the most specialized and the most experienced in the specific thing that they're trying to achieve. And also the coach who they also like the most as well. There's a few different elements to it there. But yeah, if you're still acting like a personal trainer online, it's really going to hold you back. Another thing is you need to be proactive, not reactive. So quite a lot of people, they'll just post content and then pray for people to land in their inbox. It's not going to happen. You have to have proactive systems that actually casts a wide net over everyone that could be a potential client. And it's the same way as if you're an in-person PT, right? You don't just sit and wait for someone to approach you. You actually make yourself known to people. You put yourself out there. Well, it's the same online as well. So next thing is, if it doesn't work, the problem is you, right? And I know some people aren't going to like this, but this really is what it comes down to, probably 90% of the time. The market is too saturated. My clients won't pay high prices. I'm not good with software and computers. I don't know how to market myself properly. My clients prefer in-person support. Listen, if you don't want to have a successful online coaching business, then you shouldn't be watching this video. However, if you do, these are some of the limiting beliefs that might be going through your head that you need to overcome. And you're not going to overcome them until you actually sit down and become aware that these are actually limiting beliefs. And there is people out there who are very successful online, who are getting their clients amazing results. And now you're just sat here saying these things, just holding yourself back, right? That's just the reality of it. And really all it comes down to is these two things, right? In order to get you to 10K per month. Two things. One is the vehicle, aka the business model, right? The business model, or like the mechanisms that are actually going to take you there. So that's the methodology behind exchanging value for money, right? The business model. What's actually going to get you from A to B? What are you actually doing in exchange for money? Number two is the driver. The driver is you, right? That's the thing that's actually going to put in the reps and keep the machine running, right? So which do you think the problem is? 90 to 95% of the time, it's always the driver, right? It's rarely ever the business model. There's so many weird business models out there with people doing really well. Online coaching, it's a growing market, right? The demand is just going up for it. There's successful online coaches everywhere, right? So in this case, it's probably almost definitely not the business model that's the problem. It's always going to be the driver, right? It's you. And the sooner you realize that, the quicker you'll be to getting on the path to becoming a successful online coach. So let's just quickly dive into these. So the vehicle, right? So you got in-person PT and online coaching. They're two different vehicles. In person, it's local demographic, right? Much lower volume of people. So therefore you have to be more open to the kinds of people to work with and like the goals they have and things like that. Usually you'll pick clients up through referrals or like through a gym that you're partnered with, just by speaking to people, getting yourself out there. You're going to be restricted by pricing and also time as well. So you'll get to a certain point with pricing where you can't really go any higher than that, or else people are just not going to go with you. And also it's going to get to a point where your calendar is just so full that for you to make more money, you literally have to sacrifice, time with friends, family, and whatnot. And you end up getting into this situation where you're just living to work. You're not working to live, right? And as passionate as you may be about personal training and helping people, at the end of the day, it is a job, right? And the reason you have a job is to make money so that you can live and you can have a good life. Online coaching, so it's going to be a national demographic usually. However, if you do get really big, it can quite easily become global, right? If you have a lot of followers and things. It's usually niche based, so you can actually stand out from the crowd and make good money with little followers, right? If you become an authority and specialized in a certain area, right? Someone would always want to pick you over someone who doesn't look as specific. So it's just something to bear in mind. Clients are going to come from obviously referrals as well, but ads and like organic traffic, followers. And with online coaching, it is easily systemized, especially if you're only working with one kind of person who only wants one kind of outcome. Because that means behind the scenes, your service delivery can become very efficient, and you can really master that transformation, as opposed to having to accommodate a ton of different people with different goals. You're going to spend a lot of time holding people's hands and jumping on calls with them and stuff like that, because they're going to have a whole array of different problems for you to solve. However, if you keep things simple, keep things niche, you can very easily systemize the whole business and the whole process of actually getting someone from A to B, and very quickly it becomes very scalable, right? Because you don't always necessarily have to be the one doing the fulfillment, right? And both service-based models, so both very high profit margins. However, there's definitely more successful online coaches than there are in-person PTs, despite the amount of time that both things have been around. So that just kind of tells you something about how good of a business model that online coaching can be. And by not jumping onto it, you're kind of getting left behind. Unless you only care about doing in-person PT because you literally love it and you don't care about the money, that's a different story. If that's the case, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. This is for the people who actually want to make good money, provide for their families, while also helping a lot of people as well. They want the best of both worlds. Oops. So now that you understand that success is 100% a result of you, not anything to do with the business model, we can now move on to how you can actually become the person worthy of being successful online. And the sooner you drop all external excuses and blaming, the faster you'll be onto the right track, okay? Taking full accountability of your situation is a superpower, right? And until you do that, you're never going to be successful in business. There'll always be a reason, there'll always be an excuse as to why you're not where you want to be. And if you've got an ego about it and you fail to acknowledge and become aware of this, then you're just going to stay stuck forever, unfortunately. So that's the vehicle out of the way, okay? You know what the vehicle is: online coaching. We know it works because there is tons of successful online coaches out there. Now we just have to deal with you, the driver. So let's dive into that a little bit. So a goal is just words. It doesn't get achieved on its own. People achieve goals. So what does that mean? Well, instead of fixating on the goal, instead your goal needs to be based around actually becoming the person who keeps their word to themselves and achieves these goals, okay? You need to figure out, what are these people doing on a daily basis, right? Because those are the people who are achieving the goals, and you have to mirror those habits and characteristics to be able to do that as well. So what actually is a person, right? A person, it's not your body, it's not your skeleton. You, as in the soul of you as a person, the soul, right, is made up of beliefs, skills, and characteristics and behaviors. So which of these things is actually holding you back? Okay, that's what you've got to ask yourself. Are you getting in your own way and creating roadblocks in your head that don't physically exist yet, right? Is it a beliefs problem? Or are you not willing to actually acquire the skills and information required to move forward when a genuine roadblock does occur? That might be a skill or knowledge problem. Or do you know what needs to be happen? Sorry, I can't talk. Do you know what needs to happen, but you're just not willing to do the work? Then it's more of a habits and behaviors thing, right? However, they're all sort of interlinked, because your beliefs can stop you from doing the behaviors needed to get you to your goal. And if you don't have the skills, right, then you're not going to have the confidence and the belief that you're able to do it. So they're all linked, right? So let's touch on these individually a little bit more. I know this is a really boring part, but it's the most important, right? Because the actual mechanisms behind getting you to your goal aren't really important until you've mastered this, and you've mastered the consistency and the ability to actually do the work. So the beliefs, right? Your belief system is basically just made up of past experiences, family, cultural backgrounds, social influences, etc. Basically everything that's happened in your life and what people have said to you around you has all influenced how you believe, what you believe to be true at this moment in time. And what you need to understand is that none of it is necessarily true, okay? If you want an amazing outcome that kind of isn't very common in society, then you need to go against the grain, right? And kind of detach yourself from that and come up with your own opinions and your own beliefs in terms of what you feel is necessary for you to actually become the person that you want to be. Because there's people out there living your dream life right now. So why can't you be there? Well, the answer is you can. But it all comes down to your beliefs, right? And your subconscious mind, which can easily be holding you back. So yeah, your subconscious basically just controls your actions, right? And until you become aware of it and actually make an effort to brainwash yourself into ways of thinking that actually align with your goal, you're always going to be controlled by the subconscious, right? Because it's the easy route. It's it's easy to just cruise through life, right? It's easier to do that than it is to actually go through the pain and suffering needed to get to your goal. But by just letting your subconscious take the easy route all the time, you're essentially sacrificing your future for what seems to be easy now, yet you're still unhappy, or else you wouldn't be watching this video, or you wouldn't even have thoughts of trying to make this happen. So what do you need to do here? You need to be very self-aware. So you need to write down all the negative beliefs you have towards like money, success, anything like that, business, which could be preventing you from reaching your goal, right? You need to really sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and actually think these things through, like logically. Like, if you've got a negative belief, is that actually true, or are you just sort of telling yourself that? Okay, so you need to write down all these negative beliefs that you think could be holding you back. Then you need to close your eyes, imagine yourself living your best life, right? Having achieved these goals. Then go back through each belief, acknowledge how silly it is, right? And then write the complete opposite version of it, like a positive, empowering belief that you would have if you have actually reached your goal. And just pretend you're like passing on encouragement to someone else who is in your position now, and just think, what would you be saying to them to encourage them to actually take action and to actually make it to this goal that you've achieved. And then what you want to do is you want to read these positive and empowering beliefs every single day. And I promise to you, if you actually have the discipline to do that, right, it's not that difficult. Eventually you will basically just brainwash yourself, because if you actually try to believe something, you can literally convince yourself of anything. So that's kind of like step one. You need to address your beliefs and what might be holding you back. And you need to then adopt the beliefs of someone who is where you want to be. And people get stuck in this blue area, right? Because this blue area can be full of negative beliefs that are holding you back, right? Which aren't true. It's just your body. It's just the protective mechanisms in your brain. It's fear. It's anxiety. It's, fear of failure. And all this stuff is in this blue area. Sometimes you can have positive beliefs. Other people have more negative beliefs. And if you don't address them, then you're never going to get the knowledge, right? That it's actually possible, and you're never going to believe that it's possible. Next is skills. So you might have the world's best work ethic, right? And 100% believe in yourself to make this work. But unfortunately, everyone starts in a different place. And you may not have you might not know how to run a business. You might not have any idea about marketing. You're terrible at making content. You're nervous and you stutter when it comes to speaking on camera. You don't know how to set appointments with your audience. You have no sales skills. All these things that contribute to you running a successful online coaching business, you might not have right now, right? But that's okay, because we were all children once upon a time with zero skills to help us in the real world. But you learn, you practice, and you build confidence, and you make steps in the right direction to actually acquire these skills. And, comparing yourself to others is stupid, because everyone's going to be at a different stage based on like jobs they've had in the past. Maybe their parents had some of these skills that they passed down to them. But the reality is it's really not difficult to learn this stuff, right? And I'm about to blow your mind here, but in this day and age, you can literally buy 90% of what you need to run a successful online business through coaches, mentorships, and things like that, and literally have the whole roadmap laid out in front of you, which is a complete luxury that we have these days. You can literally save years by like leveraging someone else's experience and expertise by using a proven blueprint that works. Yet despite this, people still get in their own way and have all the excuses under the sun to not invest in their business, despite they would argue that they are taking it seriously and they do want this and they have these goals. However, that doesn't really add up. If you run a service-based business with 90% profit margins, no inventory, no rent, no staff, why are you not invested in knowledge, skill development, and implementation? That should be an absolute no-brainer, right? You can completely eliminate skill and knowledge being a bottleneck if you just invest a little bit of capital to actually acquire this stuff, right? And get on the right path as soon as possible. For me personally, it was a game changer, right? As soon as I've invested once and seen the power and how quick it can turn things around and give you clarity and like a sense of direction, I've always invested in myself since that point. It's just a no-brainer. So if anyone has played RuneScape, then, you know, as you'll know, depending on what kind of account build you're trying to do, that's like your business model, then there's going to be a set of skills that are advantageous for you to build and grow for you to be able to operate that business model at a high level. So whether it's making content, getting your sales skills better, appointment setting, marketing, all this stuff, speaking on camera, these are all things that you can develop over time, and you just need to figure out what those things are for the business you want to run, right? For most people watching this video, it's going to be online personal training, online fitness coaching, and it really just does come down to these things, right? So moving on to characteristics and behaviors. So this is the part where, well, the part where you are now, between where you are now and where you want to be. In between those 2 points is the pain and the suffering of doing the inputs daily required to actually move you forward, right? And to actually keep the machine running. Your beliefs are now aligned with your dream character. You have saved yourself a ton of time by investing in a mentor. However, the mentor doesn't actually do the work for you, right? They just remove all the guesswork and make sure that you're on the most direct path to success. They enhance clarity, so taking action is 10 times easier, but you still have to take action consistently on your own. You have to actually make it happen, right? Your brain doesn't like pain and suffering. It doesn't care about your revenue goal of 10K per month, as that's very surface level. So what you need is a major definitive purpose. So 10K per month isn't actually what your brain craves. You just think that's the solution for these like deeper emotional needs and desires that are kind of more subconscious, and you might not even be aware of them unless you're very like self-aware. But without a major definitive purpose, you will simply not have the driving force behind you to actually justify to your subconscious that the pain and suffering is worth it. So you need to really sort of dig deep here and understand it, or you're just going to end up procrastinating and focusing on things that aren't needle movers in the business. Perhaps they're more like easy things that you're comfortable doing, but in reality, they're not the actual things that are really going to drive your business forward. So you need to look deep into your past, things that may have shaped you, that really light a fire under your ass, right? 10K a month is the tool, but what is the job? Like, what are you actually what kind of gap are you trying to fill here, like inside you? So being able to have a nice car isn't the core of a major definitive purpose. So, you know, is it status? Were you bullied as a child? Do you want to feel in complete control of your life, like not dictated by anyone else, like your boss, for example? Do you want people to look up to you and respect you? Like, who you proving wrong here? Like, this is kind of one way of looking at it. Or perhaps you're a bit more like me and it's more like related to a family member and you just want to give back to them, right? For whatever reason. You know, that might be something that's like deep inside you that kind of drives you forward, or it might come down to something a bit more like negative. So everyone's different, but you really just need to dig deep and like find what your North Star is, okay? That thing that'll keep driving you forward no matter what. Or else you're simply just not going to have the driving force to actually put in the actions every single day. Now we've kind of addressed the driver. Okay. Now we need to figure out what are the needle movers. So reverse engineering the conversions that need to actually happen for you to get whatever your revenue goal is. So let's say your revenue goal is 10K per month. So that means you need to close 5 people. If the deal size on average is 2K, you'll need around 15 consultation calls, right? Around 50 clients, 50 qualified leads. So in a month, you need to kind of be gaining around 200 to 500 new followers. And this is if you take a proactive approach as well. So you're actually reaching out to people, qualifying them, actually trying to book calls with them. And really, it doesn't take that much. Like I've seen a client, my client Cody, he went from, in like 4 or 5 months, he went from just under 2K followers to 50K followers. And if this is what we're basing it on, then you can imagine how much potential there is there to actually make money. It's just a case of actually hopping into your DMs and making it, right? Printing cash. So these are the average conversion rates. So you always want to sell 3-month minimum commitment when it comes to online coaching, because it's enough time to see significant change, but it's not over the top in terms of commitment. And, you know, if anyone has a problem with that, then they probably aren't serious about making a change in their life. So you should always guide someone towards a longer package with incentivized pricing if they have a goal that requires more time, okay? You always want to price based on the outcome that they're trying to achieve. For example, I commonly advise clients to charge 2K for 3 months and 3K for 6 months, which I find is quite a good sweet spot, because where like the close rate is still high, upwards of 65% for some clients. However, you know, the close rate is still high, but it's, you know, it's not that expensive for the client either. So, and if you do any longer than 6 months, it's just too much of a commitment usually. Anyways, so now that you understand, you know, the conversion rates that actually need to happen and the stages of a buyer, right? From being a stranger to being a follower to being a lead to you actually getting them on a call. Now you can sort of break down those things so you know exactly what to focus on to actually make these outputs happen. Okay, so when it comes to actually getting traffic and followers, it's content. For leads, it's call to actions, it's IG stories, it's warm DMs. For calls, you know, you need to be appointment setting in the DMs. In-depth YouTube videos, right, are good for booking inbound calls. Closing deals, right, you need to be improving your sales process and your sales skills. And of course, getting client results so you can push that back into marketing. Obviously just serving clients and making sure they get great results. So let's just simplify this a little bit more. If you're wasting time on things that isn't posting content, talking to people and booking calls, you're probably most likely leaving money on the table and focusing on things that don't really matter that much. Okay, so these are the priorities that you should be doing every single day. Here's just like an example sort of ecosystem, if you like. So I won't go into it too much, but you've got traffic coming in here via TikToks and Reels. You're driving that traffic to a VSL. People might book a call straight away, or they'll binge more of your YouTube content. Quite a lot of people will follow you on Instagram from YouTube, right? If you have your tag in your description, right? After people watch a lot of YouTube, it does usually result in people booking a call. Because you've got to think, like, on Instagram, people are just watching like 30-second to 60-second videos of you at a time. So the window it takes for someone to go from being a stranger to a buyer is much bigger than on YouTube, because people can watch you for literally like an hour at a time. And then that's enough time for them to know, like, and trust you. And then they just go straight to booking a call. So, but let's say they don't do that, right? They follow you on Instagram. You send them a warm DM. You do the appointment send process, right? You send them some good materials, and then they book a call. And then if they still don't, they're going to be entered into this sort of this cycle that doesn't end until basically they become a client. So they're watching your IG stories, right? Social proof. You know, you're getting their attention like 5 to 6 times per day. You're promoting your YouTube videos on your stories, so they're being funneled back to YouTube until they eventually book a call. You're following up with them in the DMs, right? And then when they book a call, they'll go through this pre-call nurturing sequence. Again, kind of comes back to just having them watch a VSL of some sort, so it's even more nurturing. And if they don't close, well, they're still in this cycle that doesn't end, right? The only way it ends is if they essentially become a client. So if you have this running on full capacity, it's very, very easy to actually get clients. So now moving on to actually the art of getting shit done, right? So you kind of know what you need to do now. You've got your shit together, right? You've got your beliefs. You've acquired the skills and the knowledge. Right? You've got your major definitive purpose. You know what needs to be done. It's just literally the only thing now is like to actually do it. So after years of experimenting, I personally find this the most productive. So any sort of like creative work needs to be done in the morning for me personally. Because if I leave it too later on in the day, my brain just gets all foggy and like I can't even think straight. So any sort of creative work, if it's like scripting a YouTube video, recording content, or like anything like that, writing, building course modules, anything like that, always done in the morning, right? That's when I'm able to get my flow state. So it might vary from person to person. You just need to figure out when you're best, like when you perform at your best during the day. And then you need to get the most creative, heavy things done in that time. And then for me, it would be sales calls, client calls, DMs, things like that. Because obviously this is important. Sales calls, you need to be sharp because this is where you're actually making money. Client calls, right, you want to keep them motivated and hyped. And DMs, this is where you're essentially booking calls, so it's important to be on the ball as well. And then late afternoon and in the evening, that's where you do the really easy tasks, admin-related stuff, planning, anything like that that's not really that important or it's not difficult. When it comes to actually doing it, I find this protocol works good. So you always want to plan ahead, right, and write a list of what you need to do the night before. Wake up as early as possible while still getting 7 to 8 hours sleep. I like to start the day with like light to moderate cardio because it just releases endorphins and it's like a quick win. It's kind of like the same way, you know, people take a cold shower or they do that like a ice bath and stuff like that. I feel like it sets you up right and it kind of gets your mind right for the day. You want to have like a ritual that transitions you into a flow state. So for me, it's having a coffee, hoodie on, hood up, AirPods in, putting on a specific playlist. I kind of make the room a bit darker, and then my brain then associates that with like deep work. So then it becomes much easier to sort of get into that flow state when you do that. And this one's a game changer, right? Get 2 hours of deep creative work done before anything. And when I say before anything, I really mean it. Like, don't check client DMs or anything like that, or your ads manager, or literally anything, because as soon as problems pop up, that's going to throw you off, and you're going to instinctively want to deal with it immediately. However, if you just completely isolate yourself until this 2 hours of creative deep work gets done, you'll be in a much better position. You'll be more consistent. You'll always get it done. Then you can start your day and deal with all the shit that comes with it. Using a kitchen time is good. So something like this, right? You just set it to 60 minutes, click start, and you just have to keep working it until it goes off, and then take like a 10-minute break and then do it again. But if you get 2 hours of deep work done before your day essentially even starts, you'll feel amazing. You'll feel really good, and the rest of your day will go much smoother if you do that. And even if the day doesn't go that well, just knowing that win of getting those 2 hours of work done is really going to make you feel good for the rest of the day, and like you've actually accomplished something. Because you know those days where like you're just kind of doing admin, little random tasks that pop up here and there, and you end up just feeling like where the hell's the day gone? Like, I've not got anything done today. So I feel like this kind of fixes that problem. And of course, zero distractions if possible. Noise cancelling headphones as well are really handy. I just use AirPods and put like a good playlist on. But a problem I see so commonly is that personal trainers are so far in the trenches wearing all the hats of the business that it ruins their creative energy and actually stops them becoming a visionary, right? So typically in companies, the CEO, there'll be a barrier between him and everything else, right? It'll be the managers that deal with the staff, that deal with the problems, so that the CEO can just be fully clear in his head and actually think about what's actually going to drive the business forward. So when you get stuck being a coach and a personal trainer and you don't actually go through the mindset shifts needed to become an actual business owner, that's where a lot of people end up getting stuck at, the 2 to 3K a month mark. And then they stay at that level for years, right? Instead of actually doing things that are actually going to grow the business. And they end up just, not charging enough for their services. So they hit the ceiling very quickly, and then they have no room to invest or grow. But yeah, so that's it for this video, guys. Probably wasn't what you were expecting, but it's a sort of mindset process that everyone needs to go to if they want to be a successful online coach. But yeah, so that's all for this video, guys. And subscribe if you like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.